And now it's time for Getting in Gear with your host, Silver Fox.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Getting in Gear, that's G.E.A.R. I'm your host, Silver Fox, your friendly neighborhood hunk with the best silver tongue on the radio. Like in every episode, let's open our show with a little talk about the current headlines. First, elections in Camelot. Following the disbandment of the Merlinian High Council on August 24th, after Gottfried von Evereck's declaration of mistrust in the Prime Merlinian Miranda de Locke. Get this. He claims her action during the invasion of London to be endangering Camelot and tarnishing its public image. So far, this election already sees record-breaking numbers of candidates, and it remains to be seen who the public decides to elect. Let's talk a little about what swept the web recently. You've probably seen the internet. After the events of August 22nd, the discussion about the Morganian cult has swept the crowds, and the crew and I have found many comments praising their actions rather than condemning them like before. I mean, what happened exactly? With me today is Gottfried von Evereck, resigning Supreme Magus Securitas to answer everything I, and you, wanted to ask about the hot topics of the magic world. Hi!
Hello, it's good to be here.
It's always nice to have someone of your esteemed quality in our show. Now, first of all, tell us a little about your campaign. Tell us a little about what you're doing.
Well, in essence, I feel that for a while now, we have been lacking in our duties. Our duties to protect you and everyone else from the dangers of the magical. Under the leadership of my dear friend, Prime Merlinian Miranda, we've been too comfortable resting on our laurels, and, well, I feel it's time for a change. Under my leadership, I hope that Camelot can become more efficient in dealing with the threats mounting each day and supporting each other, us and the local heroic communities across the globe in our efforts to contain the magical and dangerous.
Change, huh? Like what you're doing with the Morganians.
Well, it is time that we leaned a bit harder into that particular problem, if you ask me.
Interesting. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? What are the Morganians? Let's hear your perspective on it and the official perspective.
Well, I will not mince words with you, my friend. Morgana and her cronies are Christs in your modern vernacular. These dangerous people with dangerous ideas about freeing creatures better locked up for the good of society. They do not hold any qualms about the safety of the people around them. Simply that freedom be maintained for everything for its own sake.
Freedom for everything. You mean even for these ungodly creatures like demons?
The thing is that you need to understand, my friend, is that even the less obviously dangerous creatures of magic are dangerous. By their very nature, they're susceptible for unpredictable change. And thus, the only reasonable way to maintain order in society is to have them locked up and contained in a manner that does not endanger the general population.
Interesting. I would ask this, how exactly do these magical creatures pose a threat to society?
Well, the thing you need to understand about magic is how it is shaped and formed by the people it interacts with. The same way that an idea changes through the decades. A creature can physically change to fit a person's perception of it. Thus, even something harmless at first can, with no warning, become very, very dangerous. That is why we cannot make exceptions, understand?
This is bad. Any way of stopping them?
Well, we've been doing that for years, and we will continue doing this by Merlin's name and in his memory.
That you did. That is super important. What do you have to say about what recently swept the web, about all the praise that the Morganians got lately? What do you think about that?
Well, as I've said before, it is important that people do not lose sight of what these people are and what they want. Even if they do start accumulating followers, misguided as they may be, they are no less dangerous. As for the little fiasco that happened outside of our walls, that is a very important part of why we need change. These people had plenty of hostages down there. They were endangering their lives, and our leadership stood by and did nothing. Under my leadership, you can be certain that my very capable Magasarans would have taken to the field.
Hostages? What do you mean by hostages?
Well, I'm sure you've seen the footage. A crowd gathered, herded through the streets like sheep. They were threatening those people under the guise of enlightening them.
Wow, that is very much unnerving. What do you think they actually try to achieve in that kidnapping thing?
It's very simple, it's propaganda. If my men were to attack or to engage them as they should have, in my opinion, these savages would have certainly hurt the civilians, or at least tried to, and blamed it on our actions. They would have called us aggressors and tyrants, as they often do. And since we haven't done anything, they were capable to show these people exactly what they wanted under their little circus of horrors.
So this is why the official heroes did not act, because if they did, and correct me if I'm understanding this wrong, because if they did, people would get hurt.
Not quite. You could perhaps enlighten me on why your so-called elected officials decided to leave Camelot alone in its hour of need again. But that is a discussion for another time.
Yes, it is. I wish I had an answer for you. How did this change? Like, how would you change what happened in these events if you were to be, the elected?
It's very simple, my friend. My Magasarans are the most professional, the best equipped force of magical fighters in the world. Bar none. They could have swept in there, taken prisoners, and sent these creatures running to the four winds. They are trained for that, after all.
So you say if you had your men in there, this wouldn't have happened. How exactly would your men act differently? How would they change things?
Well, you understand, these are trained professionals. They're not unlike your licensed supers. They are well equipped and they have the training necessary to deal with these creatures on the ground. They would go in and they would secure the prisoners. It's very simple and very efficient, really. They are the best fighting magical units in the world, bar none. That is what it takes to protect the world from magic.
Of course. But let's talk about the worst case scenario for a second. What if the Morganians get the upper hand here? What happens if they actually get what they want?
If they get what they want, well, aside from Camelot itself being in ruins, as they've tried before, as you could probably remember from the resurgence back in 1991, nothing short of complete pandemonium, my friend. These would be creatures stalking in the night, demons, devils, whatever you want to call them, magical creatures of all sorts. Most of them are dangerous, as I've said before. Even the ones who are not are just a matter of time. I don't think that current civilization could withstand something like that, if I'm being completely honest. Not to mention some of the more dangerous creatures that are in Camelot's dungeons at the moment. If those were to
Do you
go free.
think do you think there is someone who will get hurt the most by it, or is this going to be an equal thing?
Chaos and flame do not choose their victims, my friend. Sure, some of them will go after the millennium first as vengeance. But at the end of the day, these are creatures of the night, beasts and animals, predators. And the prey will be all of us, if they're allowed to go rampant.
I would ask you this, though. You mentioned earlier about the Morganian resurgence. Do you think we'll actually survive another attack like that? Do you think we'll survive another resurgence if the internet continues in its current course?
The resurgence has been a tragic event in the past. The reason that we were nearly wiped from existence by the rising Morganian forces of the time was arrogance, the arrogance of the old world. I can assure you that my people and my generation has learned from those mistakes. Unfortunately, Miranda, who led us in the last brave decision back then, seems to have lost her touch. She went against the grind back then. You see, people didn't want more peasants entering the school. They didn't want a school, to be frank. But we needed it since the times were changing, and I think we were better for it. Some of my top students were men and women who were born into this modern era. Now that we have the resources, now that we have dedicated men and women, we are ready for such an attack. However, the dangerous thing is what happens if these people are not seen as dangerous. When the people are on the terrorist sides, we cannot beat them.
Yes, of course, and I'm very sure that with your leadership and capability of your men, we could dispatch of this threat easily.
Oh yes, I can assure you. In my time as Maga Securitas, I've advanced us into this modern age, and I intend to keep doing so, hopefully with a more supportive council.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Everett. That was our time for today, and we'll see you in the next time you're on the show, and good luck with your campaign.
I appreciate the time I've been given, and if you wouldn't mind a word for everyone in the crowd.
Of course, go ahead.
Well, if you are listening to me out there, and you have your doubts, why don't you do your research? Look into what we've done across the years. Look at the dangers we have helped put away. Ask your local heroes how many times they've walked alongside one of my men. These are the people who are here to protect you. We are the people who are here to protect you. Do not forget that, and do not fall into the lies that the Morganians may speak. Good night. Goodbye.
Well, that was... Yeah, let's talk more headlines. Following the day of the invasion, Parliament has declared the emergency state over, and the rebuilding efforts have already begun, restoring roads and buildings in central London. So far, we haven't received any official statement on when the city should be back to normal, but the news is scheduled after Midnight Bunny's show, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. As you know, lately there was a rise in underage superactivity. Well, you know why. With the city in turmoil foiling that tax, it seems a large number of young people with powers have taken to the streets to protect the city. We have with us one of them, the young upcoming hero, well, vigilante, who named himself the Multicolored Man. Hello.
Hello, hello. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here. Now tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, what would you like to know?
Everything.
There's a limit to how much I can reveal, unfortunately.
Well, give us as much as you can. Go.
Well, many people know me as the Multicolored Man. Well, it's true that as of you probably saw on television and from here and there, I do tend to defend those who are in my line of sight. But mostly I go to rallies. I try to be a symbol of change to everything that's wrong in the city.
Well, that's interesting, but if you're being that much of an activist and that much of a force for good, why not sign up to the hero registration and do things the right way?
Simple, because as much as I know, after you sign up, there's so many little you can do. You have to follow very strict orders. You have to obey many different laws, and there's so little you can actually do as a free hero. And also, with the things with the messages I try to send, I'm not sure whether I really want them to know who I really am.
And what are these messages exactly?
You know, corruption, equal rights, working class, many shits that the embassy, that the city hall doesn't do. You know, liberal stuff.
Well, liberal, certainly. And I've seen in recent attacks that you were not alone there. Who were with you exactly?
Well, I was with my friends. All I can say for now is that we go by the name Daybreak, even though we don't really advertise ourselves that much. We only just.
Oh, come on. Give me a little bit more than that.
I mean, what I can say is that we're compiled of a technological brute, a illusionist who's really something, let me tell you, a growing teenage girl who, I don't know, she barely tells me about herself, to be honest, but she's my friend for now, at least. And then there's me, the multicolored man, or as some of them like to call me, which I don't really like, the gay lantern.
That's quite the nickname. Okay, and you guys were, if I understand correctly... You know what? Let's approach this differently. Tell us what happened from your perspective.
Okay, so where do you want me to start?
From the beginning.
Okay, at the beginning, there was panic. There were sirens. We saw the dropships coming in. We noticed that most of them are going to Central City, I think to the Central Station. So me and my friends went there in order to help the civilians escape. When we got there, we noticed that the aliens were targeting people. We weren't sure why, but all we could figure out is that they needed to be stopped. So that's what we tried to do. And 99% succeeded.
And how did you actually do it? How did you actually stop it?
Well, that's the thing. We managed to protect the civilians that were trying to run away, but then came an unfortunate event, which I'm kind of hard to talk about. So for some reason, there was this kid. They were taking him onto the dropship. I tried to protect him. I tried to stop them, but one by one, my friends started to go down. I was the only one out there, and there were just too many. I couldn't stop them. All I could do is just watch as they take him away. After that, I managed to help them up, and we had to retreat until further notice.
That is terrible. The life of a little kid. I think it's a good thing that you went and tried to rescue him, but I must say, I heard that the spaceship, right after you finished, I don't know, meddling or whatever you did there, it crashed. Am I right?
It didn't happen exactly then, but before then there was a lot of silence. Me and my friends were hiding. We were waiting for the heroes to come, but from what we heard, nobody came. They only said that the situation would be under control, but it was a ghost town. We couldn't just do nothing. We had to do something.
But the official order was stay out and lead people to safety, and you decided to meddle.
Well, yes, we meddled. Look, I don't suppose you have the authority to tell me what happened behind the scenes, right?
No, of course not. I'm just asking what happened. That's all I'm doing.
All I can say that, yeah, me and my friends just got impatient, and we thought that even though we had the direct order, someone has to do something. So we went outside.
I definitely agree that someone had to do something, but I will ask you this. So the ship crashed at the end, right?
Yeah, a lot of happened until then, but yeah, it crashed eventually.
What else happened?
So I'm not sure how much people really paid attention, but it happens like this. My friend, he's kind of a jerk. He thought it would be a good idea to make a rally right when there's an invasion.
That's smart.
Yep. So basically, what happened is that they were attacked by werewolves. Yeah.
Werewolves? You mean those weird magic-infused people who just try to impose themselves on us?
Well, they weren't really imposing when I met them. They were just, I don't know, they were just helping us. They escorted us back all the way to Camelot, where the rally happened.
The Lycans. The Lycans helped you out. They're with the Morganians. I mean, think about it. They're just trying to gain power for themselves, just like the Morganians.
Well, I mean, if you put it that way, what do you think the Merlinians did all this time?
Protect the peace and quiet in the world.
By monopolizing
and keep the magic from the hands.
By monopolizing
and
magic
keep
and keeping it outside of the reach of everyone who they does not deem worthy enough of wielding it.
Which is everyone that we are all trying to protect, right?
Look, I don't know too much about the Morganians, but at least on that day, all they did was just telling us about who they are, their agenda, and some facts we didn't know about the Merlinians. They didn't really, no fight really started over there.
So let me get this straight. The Lycans took people to the rally of the Morganians.
I think escorting is a better term.
And let me ask you this. After the ship crashed, did you find any survivors? Did you find all the bodies of the aliens? I don't know, what did you see there?
First of all, I thought of getting closer, but the thing is that then the order of having the official heroes actually go out of their caves to clean the mess came, so I thought that maybe this time I should leave it to them.
So, you destroyed the ship, you let it crash, and then escaped the scene.
Well, first of all, I wasn't on the team that crashed the ship. I was on the field team, more likely. But yeah, after the ship crashed, I thought maybe it should be a good idea to leave it to the pros, because again, it took an entire spaceship to crash into the river to have the official heroes actually go out of their homes to actually start doing their job, the job which me and my friends were all this time doing instead of them.
So what if, and this is purely hypothetical, I'm sure you did a very good job, but what if you missed a few and they ran away from the crashing ship? And what if they are now, I don't know, hanging around the sewers, attacking people in the dead of night?
Look, two things. One, if I'll see one, I'll subdue it. Second, look, after the ship crashed, that's when the order came and heroes actually went out of their caves to actually do their job. So from now on, I trust they can do it.
But what if you won't see them next time? What if, until the next one, 100 people would fall? What if the casualty count increases because of what you did, because of your lack of training? What if that causes the rest to lose their lives?
Could you imagine a scenario if we did nothing? If the spaceship was not taken down? What do you think will happen then? Maybe they would fire a super weapon that maybe could potentially wipe up the face of whole London. Can you imagine that?
I can imagine the pro heroes, who are actually licensed and trained to deal with these kind of things, will know how to handle this.
I just didn't see him anywhere back then. It took the spaceship to crash in order for them to get out of their homes, out of their caves, whatever.
So what did you see?
I haven't seen the spaceship from the inside, unlike the others. I did see it from what happens with the Morganians.
So we are closing in on the end of the show, but before we do, I want to ask you just one more thing. Is there anything at all, that you would like to say to our listeners, to our crowd?
Yes, two things. The first is that I don't really condone being a legal hero, to be honest. If you can be legal and you can sign up for the program, then maybe it's a better idea. The reason I'm doing it because of my own mistrust in the system. The second thing is, which regards to the first thing, I kind of think things need to change when it comes to the Merlinian Order, especially in the captive situation.
What do you mean?
With all honesty, I think that the magical creatures should be free and not in prison for life.
The Fae, even demons.
Think about it. Demons could become great lawyers, huh?
And there you have it, folks. You heard it here first. Untrained vigilantes cause potential threat to society by crashing spaceships, allowing the survivors to escape to the sewers, and siding with the Morganians in times of peril. The young generation is misguided. They have the potential to inherit this heroic age, making it truly wonderful if, and only if, they receive proper training on how to be a hero, and that is why you should get in gear. Thank you for joining. I was your host, Silver Fox. Next up, Midnight Chat with Midnight Bunny. Thank you, and I'll see you the next time you gear up.
Hello. If you're still with me here, thank you for listening. This took way too long to edit. The next show will be Midnight Bunny with still haven't found someone to actually voice her, but we'll find it. DSO, if you're listening, the casting call is open. Also, special thanks to G.E.A.R who voiced Silver Fox. He is amazing. Follow him everywhere.